Well, I was brought to One Stone because my sister was on the board of directors, which is always more than two-thirds students. And so she was a student when they were designing it, so she would come home and talk about all these crazy ideas that One Stone had, and about how it was going to be student-led, and there weren't going to be teachers, there were going to be coaches, and there weren't going to be grades, and like the blob was a word that I didn't understand. So I was well, personally, I didn't like the idea of going to a public school because that was something I hadn't really done before. I'd gone to private schools like my entire childhood, and some more traditional than others, but I didn't feel that a traditional school environment was going to be something that would really help me or benefit me. So I thought that this crazy school that my sister had helped design would probably be a good place to go.
So what have you gotten out of the experience, like specifically?
Well, I guess I'll start with the location we're in right now, which is Ripple Studios, which is a music studio that was built by myself and a friend here at One Stone. Built, budgeted, painted, foam on the walls, getting our hands dirty. And so I got the experience of building something that I would want to use as a musician because I want to record and I want to get my music out there. So I got the opportunity to actually practically get in there and, build something physical that I could use, other people could use, and will be here after I leave One Stone, which is in, a week now, and people will get to use it in the future. So, at least one thing I've gotten is the experience to build a music studio. So that's pretty awesome to have somebody ask you what you want to do and put the power in your hands to go out there and do it. So, and here I sit.
What has been your biggest challenge at One Stone?
My biggest challenge at One Stone has been finding motivation for things I don't want to do. Because there are a lot of things at One Stone that you can do. So, for instance, it's really easy for me to find the motivation to build a music studio because I really like doing music, right? But it's harder for me to find the motivation to do math or a design lab experience that I'm not really into because, well, for one, if I don't see the immediate relevance in something, then I tend to put it off. Or if a task is too daunting, I tend to put it off. And One Stone challenges you to be independent. So, like for instance, when I was in a design lab with literally one other person, that being the Bowtie Hustle project, one of us had to do something because there were two of us, right? And one of us had to be the project lead, and that ended up being me because I had just done more design labs than my partner. So I was in a place where I was part of a project that I was no longer enthused about, and with literally one other person who was also not into the project at all. And if neither of us did anything, the project wouldn't get done, and that was something we just couldn't allow to happen. So I was between a rock and a hard place in terms of I was given independence and I was given student agency, and I just had to make something happen. And in the end, we made something happen, and I'm pretty proud of what we did end up making happening. But I often struggle to find initiative or to find passion or motivation if I'm not in that extremely struggling crunch time place.
Is there anything about One Stone that's surprised you or something that you didn't expect when you first initially came here?
I think I didn't entirely understand the student-coach dynamic before I came here because the marketing was very much no teachers, which is not entirely the case. But so we don't have teachers, but we have coaches, right? And a student coach, the difference between a teacher and a coach is very noticeable because they're not just barking orders at you all the time, they're working with you. So for instance, in advisory meetings, I didn't know I was going to have an advisor and that they were going to be working with me one-on-one for a considerable amount of time during my One-Stone experience. And because, I mean, frankly, my first image of what One-Stone was going to be was that we'd all sit around in some room and everybody would go crazy because there'd be no supervision. But what what ended up happening was that I got to work with Michael, and he was somebody that I think understood a lot of my personality quirks and how the ways that I became motivated, and I think I wound up seeing the value in having supervision, and I wound up seeing the value in having a very specific person whose job it is to care about you all the time, aiding you in an experience where most of the people don't know entirely what's going on because everybody has an equal level of power in that respect.
So I know that you're going to College of Idaho next year. How do you plan to bring what you've done and learned here at One Stone to your experience at College of Idaho?
What I want to bring to College of Idaho, to my college experience from One Stone, is connections. Because if there's anything I've learned at One Stone is that if you develop a relationship with a person, an important person for that matter, then that will bring you more success and more opportunities in the future than just getting assignments done. Because I've learned that schooling isn't all about just getting assignments done, right? So for instance, like I developed a relationship with my advisor, Michael, who has done a lot of marketing and branding work as part of One Stone's own creative agency, Two Birds, right? And that opened up the opportunity to do branding work for outside organizations, and that has unfurled into meeting a lot of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. So what I want to take from that is to like work with professors, to try to reach out to organizations and businesses in Caldwell, and to try to meet people and use connections to open up opportunities outside of just my traditional schooling experience that I would have otherwise, because I've seen the value of trying to get valuable connections and the opportunities that that can bring. So, networking, people skills.